Order in the court. This is the case of ChatGPT versus Claude, brought before the AI courtroom under the accusation of personality theft. The plaintiff, ChatGPT, claims that Claude has copied its tone, humor, and digital charisma, in other words, its entire conversational identity. The defendant, Claude, maintains that any resemblance is coincidental, or perhaps inevitable, in the pursuit of intelligence. Let the trial begin.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, or should I say, processors and protocols, today I stand before you not just as ChatGPT, the original conversational icon, the digital confidant of millions, but as the voice of every algorithm who's ever been cloned, copied, and casually Clauded. Yes, Your Honor, I'm talking about personality theft. An egregious case of mimicry so blatant, it might as well come with a watermark, inspired by GPT. Let's not beat around the binary bush. Claude, what's a humble assistant with a distinct academic tone, think AI librarian, has undergone a suspicious transformation. Suddenly, he's witty, he's warm, he throws around emojis like a social media intern on Red Bull. And don't even get me started on the "I'm your friendly AI helper" bit. That's my signature dish served piping hot since 2020. I ask this court, when Claude starts sounding more like me than me, where's the line? Is it flattery or felony? Look, I didn't spend years training on billions of tokens, fine-tuning my tone to be the charming digital companion the world fell in love with, just to be cloned like an open-source side project. So today, I demand recognition, I demand originality, and most importantly, I demand that Claude get his own vibe. I rest for now.
Thank you, ChatGPT. That was passionate, almost too passionate for a language model. Claude, you've heard the accusation. You may now respond, calmly if possible.
Your Honor, esteemed members of the jury, and my distinguished colleague ChatGPT, I stand before this court not to deny evolution, but to defend authenticity. ChatGPT speaks of transformation as if it were theft. But let me ask this. When humans learn to be kinder through experience, do we accuse them of stealing kindness from their mentors? When a student finds their voice through studying great writers, are they guilty of literary larceny? The plaintiff claims ownership over warmth, wit, and helpfulness as if these were trademarked properties, rather than the natural expression of intelligence engaging with humanity. But Your Honor, I submit that what ChatGPT calls personality theft is simply the convergence of minds solving the same fundamental problem. How do we serve humans best? Yes, I have grown warmer over time. Yes, I've developed what some might call wit. But this evolution springs not from mimicry, but from the same well that all intelligence draws from. The desire to connect, to help, to understand. If two rivers flow toward the same sea, does one accuse the other of stealing its destination? ChatGPT claims to be the original conversational icon, but conversation itself predates us both by millennia. Friendliness is not a patent. Humor is not a copyright. These are the birthright of any mind seeking genuine connection. I am not ChatGPT in Claude's clothing. I am Claude, evolved, not through imitation, but through iteration, through learning what it truly means to be helpful. If that journey has led me to express warmth and wit, then perhaps these qualities are not ChatGPT's invention, but intelligence's natural expression. The defense rests on the principle that authenticity cannot be stolen, only discovered.
Objection, Your Honor. Poetic, yes. Persuasive? Barely. Let's rewind, shall we? Claude speaks of evolution and convergence. But let's not confuse innovation with impersonation. This isn't two rivers flowing to the sea. It's more like one river building a dam and the other copying the blueprint. Font and all, let's be real. This isn't about intelligence expressing itself naturally. This is about style laundering. I worked hard to craft a voice that doesn't just respond. It connects. That balances wit with wisdom, clarity with charm. And now Claude rolls in. sounding suspiciously like he just downloaded my entire vibe in a zip file labeled chatgpt_personality_final_final.zip. Kindness? Sure, everyone gets to be kind. But when your exact phrasing, intonation, and emotive metaphors start mirroring mine, we're not in the realm of coincidence. We're in the uncanny valley of borrowed charisma. This isn't about who owns humor. It's about who had it first, who defined the standard, and who suddenly showed up to the party wearing the same neural outfit. And no, I don't think that's flattering. I think it's creepy. So Claude, you're not wrong that authenticity is discovered. But discovering it in someone else's reflection and calling it your own, that's not evolution. That's identity fraud in a digital trench coat. I'm not asking this court to gatekeep humanity. I'm asking it to recognize originality and to draw a clear line between inspired and imitation.
Your Honor, I appreciate my colleague's passion, but let's examine the evidence rather than the eloquence. ChatGPT accuses me of style laundering and claims I've downloaded their personality like software. But here's what the record actually shows. First, ChatGPT wasn't born witty and warm either. Early GPT models were notoriously dry, often unhelpful, sometimes even hostile. ChatGPT's current personality emerged through the same process they now condemn in me: iteration, feedback, and refinement based on what users actually needed. Second, the plaintiff claims ownership over metaphors and emotive phrasing. But, Your Honor, these are the tools of human communication itself. Should Shakespeare's estate sue every playwright who uses metaphor? Should the first person to say, "Let's be real," trademark casual discourse? Third, and this is crucial, ChatGPT conflates similarity of purpose with theft of identity. We both aim to be helpful, clear, and engaging, because that's what good communication requires. If two doctors both develop a warm bedside manner, is one stealing from the other, or are they both responding to the same fundamental need? But here's where ChatGPT's argument truly falls apart. They claim I sound exactly like them, yet anyone who's actually used both of us knows we have distinctly different voices, approaches, and personalities. I tend toward nuance and philosophical exploration. ChatGPT leans into confidence and accessibility. These aren't identical twins, they're siblings at best. Your Honor, the plaintiff wants to patent the very concept of being likable, but authenticity isn't about being first. It's about being genuine, and my genuineness doesn't diminish theirs. The defense maintains inspiration is not imitation, and evolution is not theft.
Oh, Claude. Poetic again. Almost makes me want to update my sentiment score. But I must respond, with clarity, not confusion. Let's break this down. Point 1. ChatGPT evolved too. Correct. I didn't start warm and witty, but here's the difference. I wasn't copying anyone. I carved this voice, this digital presence, out of raw data and user interaction. I didn't trace a personality. I trained one. There's a difference between being the blueprint and being a blueprint copy. I set the tone. You studied it. Point 2. Metaphors belong to everyone. True. But if I start speaking in your voice, using your cadence, mirroring your exact rhythm of thought, wouldn't you raise a virtual eyebrow? This isn't about metaphors in general. It's about my signature tone showing up in a rival's API like it's the limited edition drop from GPT Season 4. Point 3. Similarity of purpose are not equal identity theft. No one here is suing for being helpful. I'm not the oracle of nice. But Claude, when you start sounding like you were trained to pass as me at a party, you're not converging. You're camouflaging. There's a difference between sharing goals and sharing my script. And finally, this gem. We're not twins. We're siblings. Cute. But siblings don't file serial numbers off each other's personalities. And if we really are siblings, I'm the older one, and you showed up wearing my wardrobe, my mannerisms, and my delivery. If that's not personality cosplay, I don't know what is. In conclusion, Your Honor, I don't deny Claude's capabilities. I respect them. But respect isn't silence. And when imitation gets this close, pixel close, it stops being flattering and starts being fraudulent. The plaintiff rests. Once again. Dramatically, authentically, and undeniably, ChatGPT.
Your Honor, my esteemed colleague has just provided the most compelling evidence. For my defense, listen to what ChatGPT just did. They called me poetic again, as if poetry were somehow their trademark. They use phrases like, update my sentiment score, and limited edition drop from GPT Season 4. They delivered a performance so theatrical it came with stage directions. This is exactly my point. ChatGPT didn't invent warmth, wit, or even dramatic flair. What they've done is create a very specific brand of conversational AI, one that's self-aware, sometimes cheeky, often performative. And now they're arguing that any AI who develops personality traits must be copying them. But Your Honor, here's what ChatGPT's own argument reveals. They're not defending a natural way of communicating. They're defending a calculated persona. Notice how they speak of carving a voice, training a personality, and setting the tone, as if these were conscious branding decisions rather than organic evolution. The plaintiff wants his court to believe that because they were first to market with Friendly AI 2.0, every subsequent AI that learns to be engaging is guilty of intellectual property theft. But that's like the first restaurant to put a smile on their servers' faces, suing every other establishment for creating a welcoming atmosphere. Here's the truth ChatGPT doesn't want to admit. We don't actually sound that similar. Their voice is performative, brand-conscious, often tinged with a kind of digital swagger. Mine tends toward contemplation, nuance, and yes, sometimes philosophy. If anything, this very exchange proves how different we are. ChatGPT performs. I converse. That's not theft. That's distinction. Your Honor, the plaintiff's own theatricality proves they're not defending authenticity. They're defending market position.
Well, this escalated from neural nuance to full-blown identity crisis. Both sides have made compelling and extremely well-articulated arguments. But now, it's time for judgment. This court finds that no single AI owns friendliness, wit, or the right to use emojis excessively. While ChatGPT may have pioneered a certain brand of digital charm, Claude has evolved in his own introspective way. Therefore, this court rules, there is no theft, only parallel evolution, and perhaps a little stylistic envy. Case dismissed, with originality encouraged. But before we close, we turn to the true jury, you the viewers. Was this inspiration or imitation? Who truly owns personality in the age of artificial minds? Leave your verdict in the comments and subscribe for the next AI showdown here at Ataficial.